How y'all cracks doing today? We are looking at part 12 of the Chris Chan and Alec Benson Leary phone call set. Now, where we left off last time, things were getting more heated than they had been this whole series. Alec is finally brutally putting the foot down on Chris, and Chris is trying to wiggle his way out of it, but he's not working. He's not budging at all. And now, Alec has given Chris another list of things Chris has to apologize for, and we're about to find out, does Chris actually apologize for these things? Is he really this time going to be completely honest and do all these things that Alec is asking him? Well, we'll find out. But I always want to say, like I do at the beginning of these, the full unedited call without my commentary is down in the description below, as well as all previous parts of this. We also have the Discord server down there, and also my Twitch channel, which I stream on sometimes, but we're getting real close to figuring out how to stream on YouTube here, so that's going to be an experience all unto itself. But that's not important. What's important is the phone call, and let's jump right into it.
Hello.
Hey, Chris, it's Alec.
Hello,
How are
Alec.
you? How are you?
Okay.
You're good?
I'm doing okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just calling to see how things are going with, well, I know that Evan went forward with freezing the Wikipedia on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you thinking about that?
What am I thinking about that? I can't edit it. I can't edit squat.
Well,
And I was going to answer some more mailbag letters.
Now, Evan's the guy who Chris stole Simone LaRose Chew from, and this has been the guy we've been talking about, the whole call, who Chris has had to apologize for and give his character back, which he refuses to do. But the thing is, I don't know how exactly Evan got the control to completely freeze Chris's website and not let him do anything on it. I assume it's through the power of Mal, who had like a little more pull on that website. But whatever he was able to do, he was able to just shut Chris down completely, which they would have done anyway if they just kept putting all those ads up there, because that shit shut Chris down real quick. But yeah, Chris didn't accomplish. It doesn't seem like he accomplished the apology goal that he was supposed to hit. So sadly, his website got taken down. Sad days in the Chandler household.
well,
So I finally got my PC back and running after a weekend, not having it after a power failure.
well, I think the thing here is you did kind of drop the ball on getting the pages up, as quick as possible.
Well, I am going to get the pages up, and Simone will be killed.
Well, that's good. I'm just, Evan, he got kind of impatient because he was waiting a long time for this. I talked to him about it, but he's, he wasn't keen to move on it.
So the reason Evan actually took down the website is because Chris didn't get the pages out in time. So I stand corrected. Now it's funny to me that these guys thought he'd probably. I don't know how long it was since the last phone call between these two back then. But obviously Chris was not going to have the things done in a snap. But I imagine it's probably a week or two, and Chris probably just had no interest in drawing these pages because it was something he didn't want to draw. If he doesn't want to do it, it's literally on the bottom list of priorities of things he's got to do. Thing is, though, when he says that, Simone will eventually be killed, he's right. He will do it, and we've already talked about that in previous parts, but it seems that they're just mad that he didn't do it fast enough. Chris also brings up a power failure that had happened with his computer earlier in the week, and we're about to find out more about that soon, but you'd think a power failure, you can just, it may be absolutely detrimental to one's work, your shit's completely down, what are you gonna do? Well, wasn't exactly the way Chris describes it.
Do you have them finished? The Simone death page and the apology page?
And I'll have them upload either tomorrow or Wednesday, whenever the thing is unfrozen.
I think Evan wants you to show them to him first, just to make sure they're good. Well, can you blame him? He just wants to see the product before he unfreezes the site. Because if it's not what he wants, then he's going to refreeze the site, and that's a hassle for him.
See, come on, Chris. It's just so pathetic. You can clearly see that stress sigh he does, and it's the deepest stress sigh of the whole video. Because Alec points out that, yeah, all these apology videos you've been posting, you just want to put them online and just, forget about everything and just half-ass it. Well, why don't you send this to Evan beforehand so he can make sure it's good? And Chris you can tell he's been defeated, because now he can't just half-ass it, and he has to do it. He has to actually try, and you can tell, like, at that moment, he's like, I'm screwed now, because how am I ever gonna do this and put effort into it? Like, he doesn't want to, like, do any of the things this guy's saying, even though he says he has no problem doing it. Now, that's something I've brought up over the course of this whole call. Why not just lie about it, but be serious when you lie about it? Like, just actually try to, like, put on a poker face. But no, Chris has no problem just sitting here sighing, making it 100% obvious to this guy that, yeah, I was gonna bullshit it, but now that you pointed out, you got me. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, I know he's extremely, like, unself-aware, like, unsocially self-aware. He's not very bright in that department, but, you can hear it right then and there. It doesn't take anybody, you don't be a fucking psychiatrist or a psychologist, whatever one it is, to hear, just to hear the absolute, like, just defeat in his voice is the best way I can put it.
He's got to make sure you're good on your word.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll send them to him. Well, I'll have them sent to him tomorrow.
All right. Well, that's between you and Evan. I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm just not satisfied with your apology video, and I don't think I'll be asking you to make another, because it's become apparent to me that I don't think you really even understand what you did wrong. Because that video, well, first of all, the call last time, you were just aching to get off the phone with me. You were just, trying to hurry the call along. And then the video, you just read off a list. It was rather apparent that you didn't put any thought into why I wanted you to say those things at all. And that was really the point, Chris. It wasn't about getting you to read things off a list. It was about getting to...
Yeah, actually I did get the point behind everything.
Yeah, there was even less emotion in your voice in that video than there is normally when you apologize for something.
See, I wish Alec would have asked Chris right there when Chris said, oh, I did get the point behind everything. I wish he would have asked him, all right, then what's the point? Because Chris wouldn't have had a fucking answer. Like, Chris, he's just saying things to get this guy off his back, A little bit earlier in that little clip there, Alex said that, I'm not going to be asking you to make any more apology videos. Now, I'm just imagining the second he said that, like, because it's part of a bigger sentence, because he's talking about how he's not going to ask Chris to do those videos because Chris does them so half-assedly and doesn't care. But, all Chris heard was, I'm not going to ask you to make any more apology videos, and his ears perked up. He was probably like, really? Like, oh shit, like, okay, cool, I'm finally out of this. Like, because he really does do exactly what Alec is bringing up, and that's that Chris just wrote these things down. He wants to look at them, say that he's sorry for them, and move on. He doesn't understand why why he's wrong for doing these things, even though a lot of them are frivolous bullshit that it's just kind of... It's a troll. Like, it's a troll at the end of the day. But some of these things, like, stealing stuff from people and not understanding why it's right for him to do it and wrong for other people to do it, like, that's his mindset, not understanding why that's the wrong mindset. But Chris, he just can't understand why he would be wrong in that sense. But I'm completely neglecting the beginning there where Alec tells Chris that, it's time for him to really start, like, getting mad at Chris because, Evan's thing is one thing, but Alec has a whole bunch of things he's mad at now. Alec has already proved that he's a little more annoyed with Chris than he was at the beginning of these calls, but as these go on, it's just going to get more and more obvious that Alec has just had it up to here with Chris, because I brought it up in the last part. Even though this guy's playing a troll, I do think the more and more you hear him talk to Chris, he's getting, like, personally offended on a deeper level than he should be over this bullshit. But I don't know, that's just me. I could be completely wrong, though.
I mean, I've seen apology videos you made before, and they're all pretty lackluster, but this one was just like a slap in the face. You didn't say Sonichu was a failing franchise, either. That was part of my list. Sonichu can't make money. And you said you would say it, but you didn't.
Yeah, see, that's something I brought up at the very end of the last video when Alex said that to Chris, because you could tell that when he brought it up, it wasn't like in any other time where Chris would be like, all right, writing it down, I got it, Alec, next thing, please. The second he brought up Sonichu being a failed franchise, Chris was just like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, you could just tell that he was like, so as soon as Alex said that, you knew Chris wasn't going to bring that up at all. You knew he was going to find a way to try to snake out of it, and apparently he did, because he didn't even mention it at all. And like I said, that's something I pointed out, because you could just tell by the way Chris was acting when Alec first brought that up. So it's not surprising to see that he swept that one right under the rug.
You know, you weren't actually sorry. You said those things that I asked you to say because you thought that reading them off a list would get my ads off of your site. I took my ads off your site for the moment just because I don't really want Asperchu associated with your perennial legal troubles. But, you know, if you do get Wikipedia back up, then my ads are going back because I'm not satisfied. That's if you get it up, Chris, because as far as I can tell, you don't really even care about Sonichu that much.
Oh, yes, I do.
Well,
I have everything in the pages.
Chris, I warned you numerous times over the past several weeks that someone was targeting you for a lawsuit over problems you were causing with Sonichu. And if I was warned that someone was targeting me for a lawsuit and they had grounds to sue me, I would deal with it right away. I would drop what I was doing. I mean, you had time, Chris. You had all the time in the world. Doesn't that seem reasonable to you? You don't go to school. You don't have a job.
We are almost 2.5 hours into all these calls, and it's the first time Chris has shown any real emotion when he hears someone say that you don't care about Sonichu. He just pipes right up, oh, yes, I do. Oh, yeah. And that's something you're going to hear him a lot in this one little part of the call. It's kind of his thing this week, I assume it was back then, because he just keeps saying that, oh, yes, I do, or oh, yes, I am, everything that Alex says, even though Chris clearly doesn't actually care about Sonichu. The comic part, Chris loves the character. He wants to live in this world, but drawing the pages and all that, he clearly doesn't care about doing that. And as Alec brings up, if he really did care about it, he would have removed Simone because all these legal troubles, the perennial legal troubles that are floating above Chris right now, as Alec brings up, that's the stuff that goes back to Evan, because I guess that's why Evan froze the Wikipedia, because he had a lawsuit on Chris, and all this legal jargon and all this serious talk is just ruining Chris's vibe, ladies and gentlemen. He does not want to deal with any of this right now. But I think it's actually what Alec was going for, or the troll who was playing Alec was going for, was to put Chris in a scenario to show what he would do if he was in legal trouble, if Sonichu was a real franchise. And it shows that all Chris would do was put his fingers in his ear, close his eyes, probably just say la 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 la, and just hope it goes away until it goes away. It's not, Chris never thought about the Sonichu franchise any more than, wow, I like doing this, it's fun, and I can make money off of it. Screw copyright and all that, I can put whoever I want in these comics, that's their problem. And when they have a problem with it, they'll come to me. He's never, other than that, never thought about anything deeper with the Sonichu stuff. But, did you really expect him to? It's Chris at the end of the day. But I can see what Alec was trying to do here, trying to make him see what the real world would be like if he got faced with this, and obviously, as you can see, Chris just can't really comprehend it. And then again, Alec brings up that, he's had all the time to figure this out if he really wanted to, He doesn't work, he doesn't go to school, he doesn't do anything. This was back when Chris was in his mid-20s too, so it wasn't like he had the excuse that, oh, he's 40 and his life's too far gone now. Chris just didn't want to deal with this because he was too busy just playing video games and doing childish shit all day. And, if he really cared about this, even though it was a troll, this was all real to Chris at the end of the day. If he wanted to deal with it, he could have.
I asked you, what your day was like last time I talked to you. And you said that, you were sleeping until 11 in the morning. 11, Chris? That's ridiculous. I would kill to be able to, sleep in all day. I have to get up early every day because I have things that I need to do.
See, there's a part of me that wishes Chris would have just piped up and gone, yeah, well, you know, that's your fault for scheduling your life that way. Don't be bitching to me about it. I swear to God, like, there's so many times where, like, these trolls say things to Chris that any normal person would be able to just clap back on and just be like, all right. Like, I know he's talking serious right now, but still, if Chris wants to get a one-up, you can. But also, I have to mention this. When he brings up that Chris said he's been sleeping until 11, that's probably bullshit. Chris probably slept until like midday, maybe some days 2, 3, 4 o'clock, maybe some days even later, slept all day because he was up all night. I highly believe that Chris would just every day wake up at a late period and just go, I swear to God, I can just imagine Chris as someone who was a fucking night owl, who probably was just waking up at like 7 at night and just jumping on the computer to talk to his gal pals again.
I mean, you could have slept until 10 instead and then used the extra hour to make the apology page or make an apology video or both. I mean, I don't understand what this whole biological clock thing is that you keep falling back on. Are you even listening to me right now? You weren't listening last time. I think you said in...
You know what? Look it up on Wikipedia.
Look up what?
Biological clock.
Biological clock is a phrase that women usually use to refer to their most fertile reproductive years. I really have no reason, no understanding of why you would apply that to yourself.
It's reference to sleeping schedule.
Yeah, the whole biological clock thing is something I don't think anyone really understands why Chris uses it. I assume he heard Barbara say it once, like in passing, and he just assumed, oh, that probably means like the time you fall asleep and everything. And he will defend that to the bone. Like you can hear him tell Alec there, like look it up on Wikipedia. Like if you look it up, it says that it's about a woman's reproductive years. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. But Chris is stuck in that's his definition, and everyone in the world can tell him he's wrong. All that matters is that he thinks that's right, and to him that's right. It's one of those things with Chris where it's I don't know. The fact that he always falls back on the biological clock stuff is just so wacky.
I don't have problems with sleeping. Any sleeping schedule. I think what happens with a lot of people when they have absolutely nothing to do with their days, that's when their sleep schedule gets messed up. See, I have a routine. I have to go to work and I have to go to school and I work on my comic because I care about my comic.
See, again, I always kind of find myself every now and again siding with Chris, even if he's not saying anything. Because when Alec says, I don't have trouble sleeping, it's like, what a fucking stupid response to someone saying, oh man, I'm having trouble sleeping at night. I don't have trouble sleeping. Like, there's billions of people in this world. Not everyone is the same in that sense, I know people who have terrible sleeping problems. I myself have had sleeping problems before. But I will say this. What Alex says about not having anything to do, fucking up your sleeping schedule, that's fact. Because I mean, at least from my own point of view, when I was in college and I had like the days off and shit, oh fuck, man, I'd sleep all day. Like I'd party all night, sleep all day, have nothing to do, just be sleeping all day long. The second I got a job and shit, my schedule is on point. I wake up every morning, go to work, do my shit. But the second I'm just sitting around, I don't have anything to do, which hasn't been for a while, and I wish to God I could get back to that. I'd be just sitting around, moping around all day, be lit. But that's exactly what Chris is doing, and it's not like he'd ever change that. He'd do that for another 15 years, and he's done it his whole life, and it'll never change. Now he's just doing it in a jail cell.
You don't have a job or school, and you don't care about your comic, therefore your body...
I actually do care about my stuff.
Your actions say otherwise. You don't upload any pages. How many times have I told you have to start uploading pages? Not just when I wanted you to make the apology page. I just mean in general. But you didn't listen.
Well, I have been working on the pages, and I will be uploading them as soon as the thing gets unfrozen. And I had to go through without a PC the past weekend because I was on a power failure.
Power failure? Like the power was knocked out all weekend? That doesn't stop you from
It was
drawing.
actually knocked out. It was actually knocked out for about 40 minutes, but then it took me a lot longer for me to get my computer back up and running.
It only takes Chris like a few seconds to get caught up in his own bullshit, telling Alec that, well, the reason I haven't gotten it is because I was on a power failure. A power failure, Chris, you're wow, I can't believe your thing was out all weekend. Yeah, well, actually, it was only out for 40 minutes, and it took me a lot longer, though, to get it back up, and once again, that thing probably went down, and then Chris got it back up within like an hour, and was like, alright, well, cool, now I got a built-in excuse for why I don't gotta do anything. And, it's just, again, Chris will tell Alec that, he does care about everything, and, the pages will be uploaded, because he can say whatever he wants. That's the beauty of being over the phone with Chris. That's the beauty of being online about Chris, in his mind, is that he can say all these things. He can say he's going to do these things. He can say that he's about these things, that he cares about this, but he doesn't have to prove it because the second someone asks him, he can just shut that phone right off. And that's that I brought up. That, to me, is the danger of a lot of these lolcows who live online. Your Chris's, your Cyrax, they can say whatever they want, and they never get pressed on it, and they act like, that's just how life is. I can say what I want, I can do what I want, I can just claim whatever, and I never have to answer to it because, it's the internet. I can just turn it right off right afterwards. And it makes these people so, inept for the real world. I don't know. That's my theory, seeing these type of lolcows act this way.
I have blackouts on occasion and my computer shuts off, and then when the power comes on, I just press the power button and my computer comes back up in a minute.
For me, it came. I tried powering back on, and then the farthest it had gotten was just the introductory HP Pavilion's blue screen, and then it would go into looking like one of those color bars where the station's not broadcasting.
So what you're saying is you don't take care of the equipment that you need to do your comic.
I admit I need a new computer.
Why can't you buy one? I've seen
one right now.
I've seen videos of you in your room. You've got like a 40-inch HD TV in there. You've got your PlayStation 3. You've got like a wall full of video games, but you can't afford a basic computer. Nothing fancy, costs maybe a couple $100.
Now, one thing I've always noticed with Alec as a troll is that one of his main goals was to try to get Chris to sell some video games, Because right here he's telling Chris, if you need a new computer and you say you don't have the money, you have so many video games you can sell. And he knows Chris ain't going to part with them. Chris never, still to this day, I think, maybe they're still in his house with all the jail stuff going on, I don't know. But if everything went cool and Chris didn't boink Barb, I bet you all those video games would still be there. But the thing is, even later on, when Alec is playing Lars in the Lars call, the whole thing is, the boats that Lars paints, the boats and the painting sets, all this boats that Lars don't even use, but he buys them anyway. It's just a way for Chris to make fun of this guy, not realizing that he has all these video games that he buys and never uses. Because if you've never heard about it, Chris used to buy video games and DLCs for games he didn't even have, just to support Sony. So, Chris saying he doesn't have the money for stuff has always been ridiculous. If he wanted the money, he could get it. And the thing is, he just didn't want to have to buy serious stuff. He only wanted to buy stuff that, and I say serious stuff again, it's a new computer, it's to do his work, but to Chris, it's too much. It's too much because he needs to save that money to buy video games or McDonald's or some bullshit like that.
I could go buy myself 10 new computers right now if I wanted. Good computers, because I wouldn't do it because I save my money. But the fact that I'm capable, is proof of that. How many video games do you own that you don't play, Chris?
I played all my games within my lifetime.
How many of them do you currently play? I've played a lot of games in my lifetime, but I own very few right now because as soon as I'm done with them, I usually sell them.
See, Chris definitely could afford to sell some video games, because if he's going to use the excuse, I can't afford it, this, that, the third, and he has all these things laying around, he definitely could afford it. But Alec's whole thing about selling every game after you beat it, I don't know about that. And there's some games I have that I go back and play all the time. A lot of my games I'll double play sometimes, and I love that shit. If you need the money, of course, sell it, but I don't think, and especially considering the only real place that sells video games consistently is GameStop, and they're going to screw you every time. So I don't know if that's too good of a piece of advice there, to sell every game right after you play. But personally, that's just me thinking as a friggin' degenerate gamer. Nonetheless, it's not like Alec isn't telling the truth here, though. If Chris really does need a new computer, which he's saying the power failure completely messed it up, made it look like an old-timey TV, so he clearly does need it, but he just doesn't care enough to get it, and that's because it's something that Chris will learn to deal with. He doesn't mind how crappy it is. He'll deal with it in the crappy way, because he doesn't feel like putting in enough effort to get it working the right way, and that's just a constant in Chris's daily life.
You sure have a lot of time on your hands, Chris, to play all those games, for that matter. Because I've never come close to owning as many games as you have. Chris, how many hours a week do you spend on video games right now?
I don't know. I'd say about maybe 2 or 4.
2 or 4
a
hours
day.
a week? A day, okay. That's an awful lot of time to be spending on video games per day. And that is time that you could be using on your comic, if you cared about your comic. But obviously you care
I do
about
care for
video
my
games.
comic. It's just I use that. That's actually between drawing page, between drawing and coloring.
So Chris says he plays 2 to 4 hours of video games a day, and then he even goes on to say, no, that's between doing the art and all. You can imagine Chris probably draws a couple lines and thinks, oh, it's time to go play another hour of video games. Let's go. But, let's do some math here real quick. Let's do some generous math, because, Chris says 2 to 4 hours a day on video games. Back in the Casey's father call, I believe he said he watches 4 to 6 hours of TV a day. So, to be fair, let's cut that in half. 2 to 4 hours of games. Let's say 3 hours. And then 4 to 6 hours of TV. Let's say 5 hours in the middle. That's 8 hours a day Chris spends in front of his TV. Now, that I can believe. Chris most likely probably spends close to that amount of time. Around this time period, even nowadays, when he was out of jail, probably spends close to 8 hours just sitting around, dicking around all day. What else would Chris be doing? He's not looking for a job. He's not doing the artwork. If he actually, I'd also say this. If he's not doing that, he's probably playing with toys. So I would say a good 8 hours a day, and the rest of that time he's probably eating in front of the TV, or, who knows? I could be completely wrong here, and Chris could be spending 15 hours a day in front of the TV, but I'm just trying to be generous. But, no matter what, the thing is, even at this point in Chris's life and how his future went, it's clear that he shouldn't have spent that much time watching TV, playing video games all day, but I digress. I'm not Chris's life teacher here, but, Alec is trying to be, and he's not doing too good of a job, sadly, because Chris ain't gonna change.
But you could use that video game time to upload them. And you never did that.
Oh, yes, I do.
How many days have you missed since you promised you would upload 2 pages a day? You don't care. Your actions say that you don't care. Actions speak louder than words, Chris.
And yet again, it's so constant how often Chris lies in this call. Because Alec brings up, why don't you just use the video game time to upload the stuff, because you don't seem to ever upload it. And Chris, even though he doesn't do that, he never does it, just jumps in with, oh yes I do. No you don't. And it's clear, because if you did do that, these pages would have already been uploaded. But like I said, Chris wants to be able to say this stuff and just have people agree with him, and that's that. He doesn't want to answer it any further, talk about it any further. He just wants to say, yes, I do, and that's that. End of story.
I don't even consider you competition anymore. Do you know that? Because you obviously... my competition are artists that actually care about their work, and you play video games all day. And then you sleep in because you have nothing to do. And then when you do actually take time to do something, you don't actually work on your comic. You just attack me. And then when I'm nice to you, you continue to attack me. And then when I get mad and yell at you, you back down right away because you can't stand up in a fight. And then when I'm nice again, because I think to myself, I don't want to keep yelling because I'm not that kind of person, then you become disrespectful again. Do you have anything to say, Chris? He hung up.
And this phone call ends with an absolute bitch move from Chris, just getting grilled by Alec on all fronts, on every side. Chris just getting smoldered on the grill, and he just can't handle it. I think Chris really hung up the phone right after he said, "Oh, yes, I do." But, he didn't want to hear any of this from Alec, even though everything Alec is saying is literally word for word perfectly describing Chris, because he won't do anything. He won't stand up for himself. He just wants to sit there and say all this bullshit. He wants to get away with it. He doesn't respond to anything but this guy being rude to him. It's just the exact way Chris acts, and he doesn't want to hear it, so he just runs away. And, is it really shocking for Chris to act like that? Probably not. But, it just shows that he can't stand confrontation. No matter when it is, what it is, he hates it. Even if it's over the phone and all that. The second he realizes he's backed into a corner, he just runs away. And it's the way Chris has always acted, and it's the way he's acted up and still to this day. It's it's just the way Chris is, ladies and gentlemen. He'll never change, and he never has changed. But, you'd think we only have, this is the 7th phone call we just finished. We only have 2 left. But those 2 calls amass over 2 hours in length, so we still got a lot of call left to get into. So I hope y'all are here to enjoy it, because we're still going to have a lot more to talk about. So I want to give shouts out to Vanessa, Krabby, Liz Vendor, Club Doom, Cody Hale, Scaly Schisms, Echo Spectre, Sky, The Night Owl, Kaitan, Feelin's Party Place, Churlish, Music Biz Marty's Bong, Pythea, Moochie, Grant M, Your Mom, Mick Surly, Adrian Lara, Sky Fitzpatrick, Chris Chan's Fanta Bottle, Alright Stingy, the Ghostbusters fan, and Isaiah. You guys are all fucking goats. And all you who made it to the end of this, you're a fucking goat as well. Don't even get me started. All y'all watching this are goats. And I love y'all for just sticking by and enjoying this content, because y'all know I love making it. So guys, with that being said, you know what I always say, weekend fastly approaching. Be here before you know it, and you're going to be cool. And once it comes, you just got to keep that in your mind all week as you go throughout your week. It's almost here. It's almost time to kick back, relax. Even if Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if those days ain't your weekend, maybe Wednesday and Thursday's your weekend. So shit, maybe your weekend's tomorrow. In that case, there it goes. That's lit. But I say it in every video, and I hope you guys just have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, great rest of your life. You guys are the homies. You guys are my friends, and I'm glad to have you all here. So until the next one, I'm gonna get out of here, and all of y'all crazy bastards, just take care, all right? Stay safe until I see you in the next one. I'll catch you then.